All right, it's time for the third and final part of this podcast with Dr. Umar. This appeared on the YouTube channel, The Art of The Art of Dialogue. Of course, Dr. Umar is talking about Karmelo Anthony and his fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf. And if you got really mad at him in the first two parts, wait until this one. I am not responsible for any damaged monitors once he starts telling you his theory about why it's a good thing that Karmelo Anthony stabbed Austin Metcalf. Oh yeah, wait for that one. At any rate, let's get the show rolling. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With cold, blunt analysis cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's time for the Johnny Walker Dread.
They lied and said they went and bought a big house. They already had a house. They lied and said they went out and bought a car. They already had a car. Why y'all lying on this black family? Y'all raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the police killers of black people. Y'all raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions, for the white civilian killers of black people. If y'all can raise money for your killers, why can't we raise money for one of our children who had to take a life in order to defend his own?
Then why are you complaining about people like Kyle Rittenhouse raising money?
Stand with Karmelo Anthony. I stand with his family. I hope that God and the ancestors will bring justice to this situation. I hope Black Texas shows up and shows out at the Karmelo Anthony trial. We cannot let that family be alone.
In other words, we're going to go ahead and try to settle this thing through mob intimidation. That's what he's saying. Why do they need to show up for the family? This is a court trial. You're not supposed to try to influence the outcome of a trial. He wants his community to show up and try to intimidate the jurors. Otherwise, why be there? And the reason why he needs to do that is because I think he knows that his boy's in trouble.
Every black person in Texas, every black person in America even needs to be at that Frisco County courthouse when this case is tried. We need to let America know you don't have a right to put your hands on us and not expect us to fight back. The most ironic thing about the Karmelo Anthony case.
What's that?
Because Karmelo sacrificed and stood up for himself. The most ironic outcome, Art, of the Karmelo Anthony controversy is because that young man was courageous enough to defend his own life. And unfortunately, it resulted in the loss of life for his assailant.
Yeah, so unfortunate. The tears are just streaming down his face.
One of his assailants. Now, when white kids bully black kids, they're going to have to think twice now, Art.
Oh, so there it is. It's the terrorism angle. That's what he loves about this. He wants everyone to be in fear of even confronting people. If you're black, you want to be able to walk around and you want to be able to sit down wherever you want. And oh, by the way, that white family stuff is already on this table. We'll push it aside because I have my bag with me. I want them to fear me. I want them to fear that I'm going to pull a knife and stab them if they say anything. So damn right, I want to be able to go in and just push people around. That's what he wants. He loves this intimidation angle. He dreams of it. That's why he wants Karmelo to win. Because he wants white people to fear any kind of confrontation with a black person so that the black person can push the white person around. This is about power. Me, I would like just everybody to get along. Be courteous to each other. If you see a person's stuff on a table, you don't take the table, you go get another table because there's somebody probably already there and they're going to come around and be upset. Why create conflict? But that's not what he wants. And guess what's going to happen? The black person's going to pull out the knife and then the white dude's going to pull out a gun and blow his brains into the next county. And then this man will be up there crying about it. Oh, it's Texas and that stand your ground thing. Yeah. And so all you're going to do is just get people into confrontations with each other. You're emboldening people to be jackasses. And nothing good is going to come of that. People need to get along. They should avoid conflict.
Carmelo Anthony should be honored, not for taking nobody's life. We don't honor death. We never do that.
Well, that's all he did. What are we honoring him for then?
But for having the courage to stand up to two white bullies who are much bigger than him. Rest in peace to Hunter, who I believe lost his life. Because he had the courage to stand up to two bullies. Now, every black kid in America who's being bullied by white kids, those white kids are now going to think twice about what they're doing.
Jeez, this is bad. This is really bad. First of all, Karmelo was not brave and courageous. Austin had no way of knowing his life was in danger there. Karmelo kept the knife hidden and only pulled it out once it was too late. That's not courageous. But you also see the angle here. He wants white people to be intimidated by black people. That's what he loves about this. So guess what? He's going to walk around now with a paper bag. And then he's going to push people around. And he's going to show them the bag. You see, I might have a knife in here. Oh, you know what? There's a long line to get tickets. Hey, let me just cut in front of somebody. Hey, I got a bag on me. Better be careful. You better let me cut in front of you because I might just stab you. That's what he wants.
Because if you keep it up, when you back somebody into a corner with fear and concern for their safety, it might not work out for you. And I can tell you, Art, as a certified school psychologist.
Oh no, you're kidding me. He's a certified school psychologist? Oh no. I cannot believe this. Please tell me that he's just making shit up. Oh my God.
Who works in schools. When white children bully black children, nothing is done about it. Let me say that again. I'm talking California to Pennsylvania. I'm talking Texas to Connecticut and everywhere in between. When white kids bully black kids, nothing is done about it.
You just got your own school district and a whole bunch of lawsuits. How are you going to now function as a school counselor? When a parent feels that you've been unfair to their kid, they're going to point to this interview. You suggested my white son be suspended, but here you are in an interview claiming that it must be my white kid's fault. You're supposed to approach these in an objective manner. But he's basically telling you, if it's a white kid and a black kid in conflict, it's the white kid's fault. And he works for a school district. Think about that.
There is a white privilege in America's public schools. There's a white privilege in America's charter schools. There's a white privilege in America's independent schools. For all we know, and I'm not going to put this on them, but for all we know, Hunter and Austin could have a history of bullying black kids.
Yeah, and they may have a history of not doing that. You can't just fabricate this out of thin air. They might have a history of bullying black kids. But there's no evidence to suggest that. So for you to raise that is completely unfair. And you're a school counselor.
And it finally caught up to them. And I don't say that to be insensitive, but white kids, just like white people, feel as though they have jurisdiction over the black body. And thanks to Carmelo Anthony, they will all have to think twice about that now.
Oh, geez. Can you imagine if we said the same thing about Kyle Rittenhouse? You know, those liberals? Boy, Kyle Rittenhouse is a hero now because now we get to show up and police them. And boy, they better not look at us funny like because we'll blow their brains out. Can you imagine if we said this kind of stuff about Kyle Rittenhouse? The great thing about Kyle is that now we get to push leftists around. And man, I'm telling you, if they don't put up with it, well, we'll just take our AR-15 and shoot them. Kyle is so great. Man, the things that he's done for us, he's basically making that claim here. I can't stand him. I can't stand him. He's worse than Dominic Alexander. He's worse than Rashad Ritchie. He's worse than any of them. And I just pray to the kids, the white kids, at whatever school district he works at, because they have no chance of justice, of being treated fairly by him. Like my video, subscribe to my channel.
But if y'all think y'all going to hurt me and do damage to me, I'm going to do whatever I can to protect myself. And according to the law, Art, he was within his right to do so. I don't think he intended to kill the brother. I think he just intended to jab him so he would back off. But when you are afraid, when you are scared, when you are timid, when you are fighting for your life, Art, you will do anything. How many women have shot and killed domestically abusive husbands and didn't do it on purpose? How many women have shot and killed domestically abusive husbands, but they didn't do it on purpose? They did it out of fear that I need to act before he acts. And if I miss, I might die.
The trouble with that theory is that he put his hands in the bag and then said, touch me and see what happens. That doesn't sound like fear to me. I don't recall too many domestic violence victims saying things like that.
He could have been beat to death that day, Art. Carmelo Anthony could have been beat to death that day, and instead he chose to stand his ground. So what's the problem then, Art? Why are white folks all up in arms over this?
Hey, dude, I don't know if you know this or not, but there is a 17-year-old kid that is dead. Do you not understand? This isn't a minor deal. This isn't some dude got his car scratched up. He's dead. So of course people are upset. He was 17 years old. The other kid stabbed him in the heart right in front of his brother. He bled out. And you're saying, well, I don't see the problem. Why are people upset about it? Are you kidding me? And this just goes to show you, because Austin is white, his life means nothing to this person. And then he gives us this fake rest in peace crap.
Y'all wasn't up in arms when Breonna Taylor got murdered. Y'all wasn't up in arms when Trayvon got murdered. Y'all wasn't up in arms with Freddie Gray or Philando Castile or Tamir Rice or Sandra Bland. Y'all wasn't up in arms with Amir Locke, Sonia Massey. All these black people murdered by police and so-called vigilante white people. Y'all didn't say nothing about them.
Yeah, you didn't say anything when Dylan Noble was shot to death in Fresno. What about Christopher Roop in Georgia? Kid is holding a Wii controller, opens the door, cop shoots him dead. Did you care? Did you protest? No. What about Dennis Tuttle and Regina Nicholas in Houston? Black police officer fills out a fake arrest warrant. They invade their home, shot them both dead, killed their dog. Did you care? No, you didn't say anything. You don't even know who these people are. There's plenty of white people that have been killed by the cops and by black people, and you didn't protest any of them. So don't give us this crap.
Kyle Rittenhouse crossed state lines, Art. Kyle Rittenhouse crossed state lines, bought a rifle, crossed state lines, unalived 2 people, injured many others, and he went home free.
Yeah, okay, let's go ahead and correct this little worthless dumbass. All right, Kyle Rittenhouse was already in Wisconsin when the riots broke out. He did not cross state lines to go to the protest. He crossed state lines to go to work. He was staying in Wisconsin with his friend. Kyle didn't buy a gun. He borrowed his friend's gun. And he didn't wound many others. He only wounded one other. But other than that, you did great.
No conviction. George Zimmerman pursued Trayvon Martin with a gun, shot him in cold blood. He went home.
Yeah, were you there? Did you see what happened? No. There is no credible evidence that George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin in cold blood. Zimmerman claimed that Trayvon Martin jumped him and was beaten on him when he shot him. That was his claim. He stood trial. He took the stand. All 9 members of the jury said, not guilty. There was no evidence to suggest that George Zimmerman murdered Trayvon Martin.
No conviction. Daniel Penny choked our brother Jordan Neely to death in a New York City subway. Daniel Penny choked Jordan Neely to death in a New York City subway, Art. No conviction.
Jordan Neely, now I'm trying to remember who that was. Oh, yeah, he was the one that was threatening to kill other people on the subway. You see, he tends to leave these things out.
Daniel Penny pursued Jordan Neely. George Zimmerman pursued Trayvon Martin. Kyle Rittenhouse crossed state lines and pursued trouble, and they went home without a charge. Carmelo Anthony was sitting under a tent so he couldn't get wet.
None of those descriptions even come close to matching what actually happened.
He was sitting under a tent so he couldn't get wet, and two racist white boys, rest in peace to Hunter. Condolences to his family. But these two racist white boys thought they had a right to forcibly move this black boy from that space. White people have always felt that they had jurisdiction over the black body. It goes back to the plantation days, Art. The problem with this case is the stand your ground law was meant for white people to be used against black people. The stand your ground law was meant for white people to be used against black people.
There's nothing in the stand your ground law that mentions anything about race.
Was never intended for black people to use the stand your ground law to defend themselves against white people. And guess what, Art? White people don't care whether or not Karmelo is justified or not. They don't care.
Yeah, just like you don't care if he's justified or not, because you already have him acquitted, and you don't give a damn what the evidence suggests. The evidence box, remember, I've mentioned this many times. If somebody gave him a box and he opened it up and it showed that, guess what? Karmelo is guilty. Do you think he would turn it over to the DA? Really? He would bury it. He would take a shovel and go into his backyard and he would bury it. He wants Karmelo acquitted because he's black. And that is really all there is to it, guys. As for me, you know what? I'll go where the evidence suggests. Right now, it looks pretty bad for Karmelo. If evidence comes out, though, a video that shows that, oh man, it looks like Austin and Hunter were beating on this guy pretty bad, I can understand why he would do something to protect his life. Then I'll change my mind. Okay, I'll do it. My political worldview doesn't depend on Karmelo being guilty. I can still be conservative and think that Karmelo is innocent. But he can't. To him, Karmelo has to be innocent because he's black. He's emotionally attached to that outcome.
Even if it is proven that Karmelo acted in self-defense, and it will be, they don't care. The problem with white folks is in this country, black people do not have a right to defend themselves from Caucasians. This is a 400-year-old practice. This is a 400-year-old norm. This is a 400-year-old culture. This is a 400-year-old custom, Art.
Then how was Andrew Coffey acquitted? Can you explain that?
A jury found Andrew Coffey IV not guilty of second-degree murder in the death of his girlfriend, 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder of a law enforcement officer, and shooting or throwing a deadly missile, stemming all from a SWAT raid and shootout in 2017.
So he not in court fighting against the law. The law is on Karmelo's side. The problem is, the basic problem of this case in Frisco, Texas, Art, is a black boy valued his own life enough. A black boy valued his own life enough to take the life of a Caucasian in order to defend it. And in American history, you rarely come across black men, let alone a child, who valued his life enough and had courage enough to defend himself against 2 racists who were trying to harm him.
Notice that Karmelo is a child, but he only describes Hunter and Austin as racist. They were children too. He never describes them as children. And I bet he doesn't describe Kyle Rittenhouse as a child, unless he's using it against him, like with the minor possession deal. But if you really want to play this game, let's play it. Okay? Carmelo reached into that bag. He had that knife. At that point, he had time to think it over. He decided at that point that if Austin put his hands on him, he was going to stab him. That's premeditated. He had time to think it over. He certainly had time to give out his little warning. And he just happened to have a knife in the bag. That's going to be kind of hard to explain too. It's not like Kyle Rittenhouse. He had a weapon on him because he was going to a protest where there was violence expected. He said on video during the night that he carried the rifle for self-protection. It was reasonable to carry a rifle in those circumstances. In fact, if my kid was going to go and protect businesses, I would want him to have an AR-15 strapped to him. But why Carmelo had a knife on him? Well, we'll find out, maybe. But it's certainly harder to explain. He knows he has a knife on him. Here comes a boy to accost him. Did he not know that there could be some violence here? I mean, I just don't see how innocent he is here. And then he tells the police, he tried to touch me. He put his hands on me. That's all? That's all that Austin did? And you stabbed him for that? He's going to have to find a way to explain that, because that doesn't look good. And his words indicate that it was only Austin that was accosting him, not both boys. He's going to have to explain that as well. He's got a lot of splaining to do. And I'm not sure he has the answers. Carmelo is in serious trouble here.
And let me say this, Art. People are talking about why did he have a knife? He's a black man in Texas. Why wouldn't he have a knife? Are they crazy?
No, I'm sorry. He's at a school district track meet. It is not so inherently dangerous that he has to carry a knife on him. That is ludicrous.
If you black in America, Art, you better be carrying something.
This idea that every black person carries weapons on him because it's so dangerous, it's ridiculous. And where does most of the danger come from? It's not from white people. Look up the statistics. It's not the white people killing black people. And yet you're trying to make it out like you guys have a hard time functioning because all these white people are walking around wanting to kill you. If you're going to teach your kids about the dangers of street life, you'd better teach them about the kids that live in their own neighborhood, not the white people.
And check it out, Art. In Texas, guess what? It is perfectly legal to carry a knife in Texas as long as the blade doesn't exceed 5.5 inches. So if Carmelo Anthony had a knife on him, that doesn't make him a criminal. After all, isn't this Texas?
It doesn't make him a criminal. We're not saying that he should be charged for carrying the knife. It does point to a motive, though. It's not going to be that easy to explain away, dude.
Isn't this the state that prides itself on allowing its citizens to openly carry guns without no license to carry?
At 17? No, that's not true.
So if this is a state that prides itself on allowing its citizens, Art, to openly carry guns, firearms.
Sure, but if a football player shows up for a game strapped with a gun on him, most people would say, hey, come on, what's going on here? What's the motive? It doesn't make any sense. Sure, maybe it'd be legal for the wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys to show up with a handgun strapped to him. Okay, maybe it's legal. And it's Texas. But I think most people would say, wait, what's he planning on doing here? And if he ends up shooting somebody, people are going to come in and say, why did he have a gun on him? You see a full-blown riot, carrying a weapon, makes sense. Track meet, carrying a knife around in a bag, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So he's going to have to explain that. And this, well, it's Texas. That ain't going to cut it. How many of the other athletes there were carrying knives?
Without a registered license to carry? How can you be upset with a 17-year-old black boy who carries a knife for self-protection?
When he stabs somebody else in the heart for no apparent good reason. That's when you get upset.